So in dealing with the concept of Metzora, Rabbeinu Bechaya of the Rishonim talk about the fact that this phenomenon of Saras was a complete miracle. It was an esgoli. And the reason why the reason why the Hashem did it was a miracle. Why did this person get this miracle? So incredibly shows us the incredible concern and love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for us, is that even though we sinned, and even though maybe at this point we should be persona non grata in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we did something terrible. We spoke Motzi Shemra. Metzora comes from Motzi Shemra, Lashon Hara, various other averos, severe averos that would cause a person to be completely banned from all of the machnas, to sort of Bodod Yeshev, he sits alone, he sits separate from all other people. That despite the fact that the repercussions are severe and the reason for the tsaras was severe and very serious, nevertheless, the message was do tshuva. The message was, please come back. And the Mefarshim pointed out that the process was such that the message was delivered in a exponentially serious fashion. I think we touched upon that last week, that it started lighter and it gets more serious and more serious. So the Rebbe Bechaya asks a very interesting question, that when you look at the actual references in the psukim, that the psukim go through, it doesn't say it that way. The Torah says it starts with the negoyim that are on the skin, and then goes to the negoyim that are on your clothing, and then it goes to the negoyim that are in your house, which was the exact opposite of the way it actually took place, Rabbeinu Bechaya says. So the Torah is referencing the process is the exact opposite of the way the process actually occurred, which certainly begs the question, why would the Torah do that? I mean, the Torah certainly, if the message is that, wake up, smell the coffee, do tshuva, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to, keep reminding you, which itself, as we've spoken about, itself is an incredible sign of, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us and He's always ready to take us back. Why reverse the order? Why do we not write in the Torah the way that it actually went down? Rabbeinu Bechaya gives an incredible answer. It's an answer that certainly has to guide all of our lives as we see how important it is. The Torah is going to sort of, you can't say Torah lied. The Torah doesn't say, one happened before, but the sort of the order indicates that, although the Torah doesn't actually state that one happened before the other. It doesn't say that the skin happens before the house, but it's certainly the order of the psukim indicate that. Why would the Torah do something against the simple flow of the way things actually went down? So he says the reason is because if the Torah had written it the way it actually happened, there would have been sort of an ominous kind of messaging in the Torah. Things are getting worse. There would be an inherent concept there, true concept, that if you don't do tshuva, it's going to get worse. And if you still don't do tshuva, it's going to get worse. And that is somehow lacking. And these are the key words that really have to guide our lives. We say it very often on Shabbos, take out the Torah, put back the Torah. He says that the Torah is driven by an underlying principle of Noam. That's the underlying principle of the Torah in terms of its whole flow, its whole messaging, what it represents, the way we have to obviously live our lives. The pathways, all of the ways of the Torah are peaceful, beautiful, and all its pathways are peace, and that is a message of softness. It's a message of sort of reconciliation. It's a message of making people feel comfortable. So powerful and so important. And even though certainly the Torah is not afraid, we've seen it more than once. The Torah can, very clearly articulate extremely severe messages when it has to, when I guess there's no choice, and you have to talk about things that might happen. We see the Tochach and other psukim in the Torah that talk about Vavadata Mehera, Rahman al these types of things. I guess we have to know, but and that obviously the Torah can speak in very strong terms. But if it's shayach, I guess maybe especially here where the very fact that you deviated from the actual sequence of events and you reversed it is Gufa saying that when I could deliver this message, that yes, so important is the idea of Dorcha Darchino, and people reading these parshos and these psukim shouldn't get sort of this ominous, oh my gosh, it's getting worse, Torah is going to get worse, it's going to get worse, and you sort of you get a little shaken and you sort of feel a little negative. But no, let's make things better. Let's say it starts from the skin, the next one will be the clothing, the next one will be the house, and the message will be that it's moving farther and farther away from you. So it's not as ominous. It's not as negative, and therefore, obviously, it's a very critical point that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sort of reminding us that this is the flow of the Torah. This is the philosophy of the Torah. This is sort of the mission statement of the Torah. Things have to be pleasant, and therefore, even though it means, in a sense, misleading you, I guess, even though we're misleading you, if anything, you can take that message to a greater degree. Even when we're going to somewhat mislead you, still to deliver this message that it's going to be okay. Things are getting better. It's not so bad. And I want to sort of let you know that because I want to come across in a soft way. I want you to know how Kadosh Baruch Hu feels about how we're supposed to do things. That's how Kadosh Baruch Hu does things. And certainly it's a concept and it's obviously an important idea. Here it's an important idea as we live go through our lives and obviously dealing with other people, certainly with children and in the area of chinuch. This is something that needs to be an underlying core of our mission. We have to give over that sense of the beauty, of the sweetness of the Torah, of the sensitivities of the Torah. So this is certainly a message we have to think about, but there's maybe no more critical a time that we have to think about it as we approach Pesach. We have the cedar, and the Ramban talks about the fact that the cedar is sort of the key moment when we give over our Metzora. This is the moment for throughout the centuries of what has given us this reconnection to the truth. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out. Our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Ashkacha Pratis, all of the messages of the level of the relationship between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how close we are, and how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so intimately involved with our lives. All of these concepts that we've learned through the miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim and how we go over those miracles and we speak about those miracles, and yet, sometimes in the hustle and bustle and the pressures of things, it doesn't always come across. The evening doesn't always, hit the level of Dorcha Darchino. There's pressure, there's this, there's that, there's all different types of opinions and attitudes. Go faster, go slower, so it's sometimes very hard to keep that in mind. But if this is the night, as Ramban says, that this is the night of sort of Yigad Levincha, the defining time of Metzora, I've always felt that the disproportionate amount of Jews that go to Seder compared to other things. Somebody just showed me a chart yesterday. It's incredible, like 70%, I think, some very high number of Jews who way beyond the amount that are Orthodox and the amount that fast on Yom Kippur, even part of the day, and other types of events, Kiyah Shofar, and putting on tefillin, davening, handling money on Shabbat. It was a whole list of different types of things. The percentage of the Jews that are concerned about those things, it completely on the other side, totally dominating that chart was the attendance at the Seder. And I've always felt that that's sort of what drives Jews who are not necessarily committed, and they're not even thinking about fasting in Yom Kippur, and yet they're coming to a Seder. Like, what's the draw? What's the attraction? So certainly, we'll sort of hypothesize and postulate about what the reason is, but at the end of the day, I think that it's a very strong, compelling reason, and it's a little metaphysical, but it does seem that there's something very powerful about this moment. This is a moment where Klal Yisrael is getting together and making that defining statement year after year throughout the millennia that this is who we are. This is the nation that went out of Mitzrayim. The Vihisha Amda, that concept, even though it might not be articulated, it might not be clearly thought out by people that are drawn there, but they still have to answer the question, why am I here? And so it is a critical moment. It is something that certainly can say it's been a powerful force throughout the centuries for Klal Yisrael's survival. So if we're going to hand over the Messiah, this is the night that kids are going to remember. The Vigat Telvincha, clearly children play a critical role in the night throughout this evening of what they're going to walk away with as they're sort of internalizing this beautiful message of the unique love of Kadosh Baruch Hu Klal Yisrael. Certainly the concept of Derech Dachinom and how it has to dominate our thinking and somehow totally infuse the entire evening with this sense of sweetness and niceness and calmness and serenity and just the beautiful pathways of the Torah. That has to come through. And Bez Hashem, if we can keep these two thoughts in mind of the significance of Vigat Vincha and to give it over in a beautiful way, Bez Hashem will be successful and be able to transmit that Mesorah. And Bez Hashem, by doing so, we'll hopefully reach the time when this Nisan, as we know, will be the month not just that recalls the Gula, but the month that brings us the ultimate Gula. May he remain. Amen.